I'm Isaiah Jacob with your sports update. The Cleveland Guardians wrapped up their 3-game series with the Detroit Tigers today, sweeping the series. Cleveland came out on top today, 3-1. This now brings them within 3.5 games of the Tigers for the AL Central. Tonight, the Reds take on the Chicago Cubs at 7:15. On the mound tonight for the Reds is Hunter Green taking on Colin Rea of the Cubs. An AFC East clash will take place tonight on Thursday Night Football as the Miami Dolphins visit the 2-0 Buffalo Bills. Miami 0-2 looked listless in its season opener, and while it played better in a Week 2 loss to New England, the team is still 0-2 for the first time since 2019. After 18 years with the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw has decided he will retire at the end of this season. Kershaw has won an MVP and 3 NL Cy Young Awards in a career that will undoubtedly finish in the Hall of Fame. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Ring it up for Ohio State.
You've waited all day for this.
He's going to take it to the house. 85 yards. Down the right side going Devin Smith. Got it at the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown.
The one show that's nothing but the Buckeyes.
Oh, Graham Rucker for the touchdown. Kraft shoots it high on the right for 3.
This is the Buckeye Show.
Oh, yeah. Happy to be with you on a Thursday evening, September 18th. Just a beauty of a Thursday evening out there, by the way. Terrific weather as we get closer and closer to fall. I'm Dylan Tyrer, filling in for Brandon Beam. With me is Pat Murphy. Pat, it's been a while since you and I have chatted, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it should be fun.
And then we've got Isaiah Jacob running things in the back. Actually, a great sports Thursday. We've got Thursday Night Football after our show this evening. We'll be going right into Bills-Dolphins. I don't know how everybody feels about that one based off of how the Dolphins have started this season. But, hey, I like the Dolphins to cover tonight for what it's worth. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually listening as I was driving in to Come-Man and Timmy talking. And, like, it's so weird in the NFL because you hardly see – like the college football like spreads, and when you do, it's like
it's so scary.
This is a big one, and now the Bills obviously have been good, but they barely get out of that Week 1 game against the Ravens, and a great game, the comeback and whatnot. But do they, if they're not 2-0, if they don't get that win, is the line a little different? And I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on this.
It's a valid question right there. And speaking of lines, I think the Ohio State line against Washington has come out. It's between 11.5 and 13.5 for next Saturday.
Yeah, I think a couple different of the sports betting apps have lines. Yeah, and I think it's something right in between there. Or one has one and one has the other. So, double-digit favorite, which isn't surprising. I do wonder if Washington, because they play this week, they did not play last week, if they go out and they have their big rivalry game in the Apple Cup, right? If they go out and look really good, does that line start to move a little bit with Ohio State not playing to kind of reassert itself?
That's what I was kind of thinking, too. They're playing Washington State in the Apple Cup. Wazoo's 0-3.
Yeah.
What if Washington looks bad in that game? Is Vegas like, oh, boy, I don't know. But, yeah, the Buckeyes, a couple of score favorites on the road. So I think you like that. And, I think obviously Ohio State fans probably want to see Ohio State cover that spread and win more than that. And really show that they're ready to go and a great team when it comes to this Big Ten slate. But, I said it's been quite a while since you and I have done a show together. So how have things been with you? How's the start of the season been covering the Bucs?
Good. Helps that they're 3-0, right? That Texas win obviously was huge. I think whatever you had to do to win that game, right? And that's what Ryan Day and a lot of the players and staff said was, just win. Right? That was the message leading up to it. They didn't need Julian Sayin to be a superstar. They didn't need anybody to do anything above what they were asked. It was not a style points game, right? They have had a couple of those since then. So getting that win puts you in the driver's seat now, right? Not only does it then vault them up to number 1 in both polls, but now you have some margin for error. And I think as we get into the Big Ten season, this next stretch, potentially even, you're going to have an interesting, opponents, which you haven't had since that Texas game. If the Buckeyes do split up, and obviously we hope they don't, but if they do, now I think you can at least fall back on that Texas win, especially if, say, you lose at Illinois, who right now is a top 10 team, or you lose maybe that home game to Penn State, or I don't even know if I should say it, God forbid, end of the season, you lose that game to Michigan, or maybe, you have a couple losses like last year. We've already banked a win, and I know Texas hasn't looked great the last couple weeks, but I think that Texas is still going to be right there in the playoff conversation, right? So you've got a team that, unless things really fall apart, which I don't think they will in Austin, but you've got a really good win, arguably the best win so far this season, and really nobody else can get a win like that unless they knock off the Buckeyes, because you have a win over the number one ranked team. And then the Grambling game was good to see a lot of guys. Good for the Buckeyes to go out and execute and just take it seriously, which I don't know if it was a question going in, but you got a team that just beat the number one team in the country. There's a lot of hype about them all of a sudden, not that there wasn't before. And how do you handle a game when I don't even remember what the spread was, but it was huge. And, opening drive, boom, 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 touchdown. And they just continued that throughout the game. Only one time in each half did they not score a touchdown. One was the Julian Say interception. One was the second half when they punted when a lot of backups were in. And then the OU game, I know a lot of people were frustrated. Obviously, the red zone stuff has been a topic of conversation this past week. But you did everything else. And I think that, if you weren't getting into the red zone and things like that, I'd be more concerned, because I do think the red zone stuff is fixable. So I think that it's been a really good start. And I don't think you could have asked for much better than what they did in the first 3 games.
A lot of Buckeye football talk throughout the remainder of the program. We're actually going to be joined by Andrew Gillis of Cleveland.com. That's coming up at 6:30. We'll hear his opinion on the start to the Ohio State season. Some Buckeye basketball talk on tonight's edition of the Buckeye Show, I should say. The Big Ten slate, the Big Ten schedule is out for the Ohio State Hoops team, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Some of our favorite and most anticipated matchups at the Shot this coming season. Isaiah's got the college football pulse for us coming up at 7 o'clock, and we'll finish things up with hashtag Buckeyes later on in the show. Everything else going on in the world of Ohio State sports. I was a little bit sad yesterday to hear about Robert Redford's passing. I am a younger guy here, so I haven't seen a ton of Robert Redford's older films, but one of the greatest actors of all time, one of the most iconic actors of all time, and he's the star of one of my favorite movies of all time, The Natural. I think for me, sports movies, baseball movies, that's right at the top of the list on either of those categories, and just one of my all-time favorites. Do you have any Robert Redford favorites of yours? I'll say The Sting is also an underrated one of my favorite Robert Redford movies. I love a good, caper heist style movie, and that's one of the best.
Yeah, I pulled up his IMDb page here because obviously I know the name, I know the face, but I was like, what has he been in? Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is one that I've seen multiple times. That was probably the first one that came to mind. The Natural is one, I was glad you said that, because we were actually talking yesterday before Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia spoke, and I guess it was right after the news came out, some of the guys at the press conference. We were talking about The Natural and then sports movies in general. And I was like, I thought I'd seen The Natural, but as the guys were talking about it, I was like, maybe I'm confusing it with another movie, so maybe I haven't. All the President's Men, that was one I actually watched probably when I was 13 or 14. My mom put it on one night when we were sitting around eating dinner, and I found myself very into it, even though it's not something I would normally watch. I haven't seen it probably since then, but that memory sticks out to me, that it was just oh, I don't know why I'm into this movie, but I am. It was really good. So yeah, those are a couple, but yeah, I probably need to watch The Natural just to make sure.
Oh man,
whether it is what I'm thinking about, or am I confusing it for something else?
Do you remember a film in which a guy hits a home run into the light tower and all the lights explode as he's rounding the bases? That's kind of like the climax-ish area of the movie.
Yeah, I think I do. And I'm wondering if maybe I've just seen that clip, because some of the other stuff that the guys were talking about happening in the movie, I was like,
okay, here's another one. People listening right now are probably like, come on, Pat, come on.
Yeah, right.
There's they're on a train, and there's a guy that's kind of like Babe Ruth, and they're kind of traveling around, and Robert Redford strikes out this Babe Ruth style character in a field. They get off the train at a fair. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember.
Okay.
See, so maybe I've just seen bits and pieces of it, and I've put those together in my mind. But yeah, look, the name Robert Redford is synonymous with great films. And sad when we lose anybody, but especially people like that.
Yeah. Isaiah, do you know who Robert Redford is? You're a little younger back there, right?
See, I was disappointed that neither of you said I'm a Marvel nerd, but Captain America, the Winter Soldier. He played Alexander Pierce. For me, that's who Robert Redford was, because when his picture popped up, I'm like, who is this? And then it immediately clicked for me. So that's the movie that I, as a younger person, immediately put him with.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen The Natural either, or any listeners out there haven't seen The Natural, it is just a classic baseball movie, a terrific one. So even if you're not a baseball fan, it's worthwhile.
Do you like sports movies?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Do you?
I do. But some of the guys were saying just like how in sports movies, it always looks, especially if it's not a big sport. Like I played soccer, and anytime soccer is in a movie or a TV show,
it looks bad.
It looks bad. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, people like Ted Lasso is probably the only one, and that's because they got actual soccer players to be involved with it. But it still doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I can get past it, just like I can get past some of the, we're talking about Marvel movies there, right? Like, I can get past some of the surrealness of that. Then I can also look past, like, people not knowing how to kick a soccer ball or throw a football. But, some of the guys were saying they just can't do sports movies because of how bad sports it looks in there. And I was like, if the movie's good, the movie's good.
Well, there is something to that, because I feel like some of the better sports movies don't look that wonky. Like, think about Miracle. I think that's one that almost is universally loved. There are a lot of former hockey players in that movie, because you can't necessarily just get an actor and be like, all right, go skate, or I'm going to give you a week of skating lessons or a month of skating lessons, and you're going to look like a pro hockey player in that case, I guess.
Right.
College hockey players. But that's a really good one. Miracle's there. I would say the baseball playing in The Natural looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like it's not faked in any way. But
I think it helps too. Well, like in baseball, like almost everyone grew up playing baseball at least to some level, right? So I think most people know how to do that. But then in sports movies, when you put a helmet on guys and you can, like hockey or football, you can substitute in actors, right? Guys that actually know. Like I think of the Mighty Ducks.
Yes.
Like those kids aren't doing the skating a lot of the time. They have guys out there unless they need like close-ups and whatnot. So you can make it work that way. But you come up with a good story that revolves around sports, I'm in.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah, sure. Why not? And I'm not the biggest Will Ferrell fan. Like there are Will Ferrell movies I really like, and then there are some that I don't. Talladega Nights I think is great. And like again, you're just in a race, you don't have to actually be a race car driver.
Blades of Glory.
That one is not as high up on my list.
Hey, Blades of Glory is underrated. I will give you that.
It's fine. I just to be fair, I've only probably seen it once or twice. That's the one with Jenna Fisher from The Office, right?
That's
She's in
correct.
that? Okay.
Yeah, there's Amy Poehler's in that.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. We're talking Buckeye football next, people. If you're tired of our movie conversation right here, like we talked about, it's been a long time since Pat and I have gotten together. So, Pat, prepare yourself.
All right.
I have some questions about these Buckeyes.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
Tweet from a listener. Are you carrying the Buckeye game today? Considering we've never not carried one, yes. The answer is yes. The Fan.
Got a teen athlete? Then you know putting in the hours is all part of the game. But did you know the same goes for learning how to drive? Because just like playing a sport, learning to drive takes practice. The only difference is the stakes are even higher. 50 hours of practice time driving with you? Worth every minute. Gear up at teachyourteentodrive.ohio.gov.
Proper tree care is an investment that can lead to substantial returns and increased personal enjoyment. Hiring a certified arborist can help care for your trees and prevent storm damage. Inspections by Ohio ISA certified arborists can often find and mitigate tree defects before they fail. Only professionals with specialized knowledge and training are properly equipped to provide appropriate care. To find an arborist, visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tour Tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
Nobody has more all-wheel drive or electrified hybrid choices than Toyota. Now through September 30th, get 2.99 APR financing on a rugged new 25 Tacoma. Excludes Jardy Pro and Trailhunter. Or lease a well-equipped Tacoma SR5 for $269 a month for 36 months with $39.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS. Tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Modern Office Methods, your authorized Ricoh dealer, can help your business optimize your print production with a competitive advantage. Our digital printing options will expand the type of paper and substrates from what your business can print on today. Add variable data capability, which allows for personalization of catalogs and mailers, and the ability for short-run label printing, which allows your business to print high volumes of custom labels quickly and on demand. Want to learn more? Start with a print assessment at momnet.com. Why risk it? You can count on Mom.
They're trained. They're prepared.
Let's do it.
They're Ohio's undefeated plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling team. And they're here to tackle your problems. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Remember when sports used to be about calling up your favorite host and saying how stupid they are? Good news. We still do that. The Fan Call-In Show.
Hello. Sponsored by ESPN Bet at Hollywood Casino.
Sunday mornings at 8 on The Fan.
It's game day at Raising Cane's. If you want to order like a Buckeye, it's the action off the field you need to focus on. The only play you're running is chicken. So what combo are you picking? Make it a perfect season. We've got tailgates of hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce, and jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. All available to order online or on our app. This season is about to be unbeatable. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Experience Buckeye Game Day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Sunny skies, light winds, temperatures holding in the mid to upper 80s on this Thursday. More of the same overnight, clear skies and light winds. A cool start Friday morning around 60, but a hot finish. Plenty of sunshine back near 90 by Friday afternoon and staying warm. 80s down to the 70s for your high school football Friday night. With your 10 weather impact forecast, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz on The Fan.
If you still have a weird rash from jumping in Mirror Lake, we can be friends. This is the Buckeye Show.
Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy back here with you. Isaiah Jacob running things behind the scenes for us. We were talking a little bit about Buckeye football right off the top, and I didn't want to spoil anything because I got to ask Pat some specifics now. You know, Pat covers the Buckeyes every single day. You are in this right now. You're fighting the good fight.
It's a fun fight.
It is. It is absolutely, and it's fun right now because the Buckeyes are 3-0, and they've got a lot of things moving in the right direction and going for them. And one of those things is obviously the quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you know, one of those things for me going into the Texas game was, what if Julian Sayin is good? Because everybody going into that game, I feel like, was saying, what if this guy isn't it? You know, Arch Manning's obviously going to be good in this game. What if Julian Sayin's not good? And I was thinking to myself, this guy is a former 5-star recruit. He is one of the better quarterback recruits in the country, better transfers in the country. What if this guy is just the real deal right from the start? I was there at the Texas game. I was intrigued to see what it looked like. Mm-hmm. And I think the poise stood out for me right away from Julian Sayin. And then the accuracy stood out to me right away from Julian Sayin. And since then, I feel like the reins have been taken off a little bit. They've allowed Julian Sayin to do more and more, with that. Maybe he's taken a couple of risks that have led to some interceptions. I think back to the second interception in the Ohio game last week, kind of unnecessary, him just trying to make a play and it goes awry for him. But all in all, I've really liked Julian Sayin, and I may be jumping the gun here, but I truly think he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. I think Joel Klatt had him ranked 10th in his rankings of the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation at the moment. So I want to start there with you, Pat. Give me your honest evaluation of Julian Sayin through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of it. The poise, the accuracy, those are things that we'd heard about. The quick release, too, from Ryan Day and others leading into it and seeing a little bit of it in practice. But you obviously want to see it in the games, right? And the opportunity to, see him in a big game already, I think is important. And even if they didn't let him fully be Julian Sayin and do all the things that he may be able to do if, say that game next year or later in the season against a Penn State or a Michigan or whoever, you got a good idea that, like, the moment wasn't too big for him. And I think for a guy making that first start against the number one team in the country with a good defense coming back and all that, like, that was the most important thing I took out of it. And then the next 2 weeks, it was like, all right, let's see what he can do when, he's got these weapons and the competition isn't quite that level. Build the confidence, those type of things. And I think he's handled that all really well. You mentioned it in the interceptions. Really the one that I think, obviously I'd like to have all three back, but the one that I think would probably drive me crazy if I were him is the one against Grambling. First of all, you start so well, 16 of 16, right? And then you're just late on that throw, and that's a throw that he knows he can make. The two in the OU game, one gets tipped. Yeah, he probably should have seen, and he said he actually did see the defensive lineman who sort of dropped into a spy, just couldn't get it over him. And then you mentioned it, it was almost more of a fumble than an interception. I mean, he definitely was throwing the ball, but, just getting hit and kind of letting it go there. I think those are both things that you pretty easily learn from, and you'd rather get them out of the way in a game like that where you're almost certainly going to win than, say, having those mistakes happen at Washington or, Illinois in a few weeks or whatever it may be. So I really think everything we've heard about him has played out. I think the one thing Buckeye fans would like to see a little more of is when he gets the opportunity to go pick up 3-4 yards with his legs, go get a first down with his legs, go do it. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, we spent 2 years talking about that with C.J. Stroud. He did it in his first game when he came in for Justin Fields against Michigan State, and he had like a 60, 70-yard run, whatever it was. And then he did his last game against Georgia, and maybe a little bit in the Northwestern game in that crazy weather game. But, like, C.J. Stroud wasn't going to run the ball. Mm-hmm. He has the ability to do it. If you watch him in the NFL, he does it from time to time. That's just not what he was going to do. And I think Julian may be some of the same. I do think you want some of that in the offense. Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking about the red zone earlier. Like, there's a couple times when if he pulls the ball from the running back, and I don't know if the pull is part of that play yet, but there's just green grass if he takes it and goes. And so even if he's not a runner like a Justin Fields or guys like that, even Will Howard last year, I think the threat of it every once in a while, just sprinkling it in, even when he gets outside the pocket, if there's no one there, just, 3-4 yards, step out of bounds, right? And then the other thing would be just living to fight another day, kind of with that interception against OU is, look, take the sack. We're fine with that. Go punt, and we'll come back. You'll be good, as opposed to trying to throw it up and seeing what happens.
On the defensive side of the ball, I had heard Arvell Reese's name a lot talking to different people leading into the season, just really based off of what that guy looked like in camp, the physical nature of him, just such a freak. And then you see what he does in that Texas game where Matt Patricia obviously realizes what he has in this guy, and he's scheming him up to go all over the place and really be a serious weapon on this Ohio State defense. Could you have possibly seen this coming from Arvell Reese, or were you one of the believers early on?
I was a believer. I don't know if I thought they would put this much on him early. And now he did play a good amount last year as kind of that third linebacker, sort of what we're seeing from Peyton Pierce this season. But I thought, especially like against Texas, are you going to line him up on the edge like that? Like, I didn't know that was coming necessarily. Obviously, he did play some defensive end during his freshman year, practice at defensive end for a little bit. But yeah, they've really unleashed a lot more of this defense, and I think you had to because of that Texas game early on. And just the defense in general. And we knew this about Caleb Downs. We knew this about Sonny Styles. The versatility that they can play with. And Arvell Reese is a big reason why. He can line up as a linebacker. He can line up off the edge. If you line him up off the edge, sometimes he's coming, sometimes he's dropping, sometimes as a linebacker he's coming. And that just it allows Matt Patricia to play with some things, right, and confuse. But then you talk about like a Caden Curry, a guy who I think has been really impressive. Maybe we didn't talk about him enough in the offseason. At times, they're lining up with 3 defensive linemen, and they're all defensive ends. Caden Curry's in the middle there. And, like, that's not something I predicted us seeing, especially this early in the year. So I think that the fact that they have so many guys that can do different things and aren't just pigeonholed into a position. Remember, a couple years ago, Sonny Styles was a safety, right? So he has that background. We know what Caleb Downs can do in various roles. So it's been fun to watch Matt Patricia just kind of tinker with things. And I doubt we've seen all of it, right?
Right.
They're going to save some stuff for Big Ten opponents down the road. But it's been a lot of fun to see this defense look multiple and have guys kind of lining up all over. I mean, that's what confused Arch Manning so much was, Tyvis has talked about it. Like, they line up with, just 2 lines of guys after the defensive line. You don't know where those guys are going. And then they're all moving after the snap. And, a guy in his first real start, that's got to be tough.
That, to me, has been the most exciting thing about watching Ohio State this season. We obviously talk about everything they have on offense. You and I just talked about Julian saying for 5 minutes there. Right. We didn't even mention anybody else on offense. Not a single other player. We're going to talk about the running backs a little bit later on. But, think about everything Ohio State has on that side of the ball. But to me, we were thinking about that so much coming into the season. And, I know Matt Patricia is the new DC here, and we were kind of wondering, what's this going to look like? It'll probably be good because they have good personnel, and he's a very experienced defensive coordinator. But to me, that has been such a joy this season, is watching everything that they've been able to do defensively. And, just the complexity of what he is doing right now. And you can see it confusing some of the best teams in college football, and a quarterback like Arch Manning that out of any quarterback in college football, given that pedigree, you would feel like, this guy has a good understanding of what defenses are trying to do. And Matt Patricia completely befuddled him and befuddled Texas in that game. And to me, that has just been so fun to watch, just the high-level defense that Ohio State is playing early on this season. And I'm with you. I feel like they're probably not even scratching the surface on what this is going to look like later on in the season. They're not showing everything. So when it comes to maybe some exotic blitzes, things like that, I can't wait to see what Matt Patricia puts together. I think that is really intriguing to me as things go on.
Yeah, I think he's running more or less an NFL-style defense with fairly inexperienced guys. And I think that's been one of the things that has been illuminated about him is the way to make simple things or complicated things schematically simple for these guys. And the guys being able to take it and put it onto the field and do it in such a big game like that. So, yeah, the defense has been a lot of fun to watch. I knew they'd be good. I didn't know if they'd be quite like number one defense like last year. And, bigger tests are going to come, right? Texas still hasn't looked great offensively, so maybe that you'll see some more. Washington with the dual threat quarterback will be interesting, but I think you have to really like what you've seen so far.
That's what you and I think about the Buckeyes. Let's hear what Andrew Gillis thinks about the Ohio State Buckeyes. He covers the team for Cleveland.com, and he joins us next on the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
Tailgate season is here, and if your grill makes you have to duck when you light it, it's time for an upgrade. Billiards Plus carries top-of-the-line grills that you can pass down to your kids and gifts the whole family will enjoy. Family-owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Looking for bold flavors and award-winning spirits? High Bank Distillery is your destination for handcrafted cocktails, locally inspired dishes, and Whiskey War, the nationally recognized whiskey. Stop by their Grandview, Gahanna, and Westerville locations this week. Dine, drink, distill at High Bank.
Hi, I'm Richard May for Toyota West. And with over 600 new and pre-owned vehicles available, Toyota West at I-270 and Georgesville Road has the car you're looking for. And right now at Toyota West, take advantage of 0 down and 0 payments until 2026. And every pre-owned vehicle comes with a 72-hour exchange policy plus a 3-month warranty for qualified vehicles. Come see us at the Germain Auto Mall on Georgesville Road or get started today at ToyotaWest.com. Offer expires 9/30. No payments for deferred payment. Interest accrues at time of inception with approved credit.
AgPro has been family owned and operated for over 64 years. With We take pride in developing long-lasting relationships and offering first-class customer service. Need a new tractor, parts for your used equipment, or reliable service? AgPro has you covered. AgPro is here to serve you and your operation as your hometown dealer. Visit us today at any of our AgPro locations or go online to agproco.com to get started with your AgPro experience.
I love the neighborhood where I grew up, but it was tough.
Ohio State championship quarterback Cardale Jones.
Football helped me find my direction, but I also needed the right support system. I remember seeing that CareSource heart around town and just knowing they had my back. That's the kind of difference they still make in neighborhoods like mine. And that means the world to so many children today. My name is Cardale Jones, and I was a CareSource kid.
CareSource, your Medicaid, your choice. Visit caresource.com/Medicaid.
The Buckeye Show is sponsored by CareSource, proud to be your home for Ohio State athletics. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Ryan Day's favorite radio show. Probably. Maybe. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Back here with us about 30 minutes into our first hour on the Buckeye Show. I'm Dylan Tyrer. Pat Murphy is with me. Isaiah Jacob, our producer, is handling everything for us. And right now, we're excited to be joined by Andrew Gillis. He covers the Buckeyes for Cleveland.com. Andrew, how's it going, man?
Doing well. How are you guys tonight?
We are pretty darn good. We were just talking a ton about, well, Julian Sayin first, and then we got onto an Arvell Reese and Matt Patricia tangent. So let's start there with you. I mean, so many question marks around Julian Sayin coming into this season. What have your impressions been of the young Ohio State quarterback through 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think poised is probably the number one thing that you would see and say about him. I think, you know, you look at kind of what he's done. I mean, he's got almost an 80% completion percentage. You know, he's looked good with what they've given him, right? And I think that is about to change as Ohio State goes to Washington here next Saturday, where I think, you know, you're going to start to see them give, Julian Sayin more, and we'll see how he handles that. But, you know, with everything that he has had on his plate in the first 3 weeks, specifically that Texas game, you know, you go back to Grambling State. I mean, I understand it was Grambling State, but he looked good there. You know, against Ohio, he obviously threw for almost 350 yards. It's just, you have been very impressed with a kid who's in his second year, his first full year as a starter. The way the ball, you know, comes out of his hands is one thing, but just the ability to kind of handle the ups and down swings has been really, really impressive to me. And I think we're going to see some challenges on the horizon for him, and we'll see how he handles them. But, I mean, through 3 games, so far, so good.
Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, what has surprised you most about what Matt Patricia has done here? Obviously the Texas game being the main one, but just in general, what have you seen that maybe you didn't expect from the new defensive coordinator?
Well, you know, I think you thought there was going to be some level of versatility, right? I mean, how many times have we heard the word antiquated used in the last year, right? I mean, you talk about the Jim Knowles of it all and, you know, everything that happened last year after the Oregon game and what was going on with that defense. And I think we all expected, you know, Matt Patricia to come in here and try some different things. I have been surprised and really impressed at how many different things they have. And, you know, one of the things that I think you can look at is say he's kind of doing what New England did, and I hate to use that, but you know, just because of how good New England was when he was there. But you kind of look at it. What the Patriots did was they said, "Don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me what he can do, and let me use that." Right? Like, how many times have you seen C.J. Hicks line up on 2nd and 1, right? How many times have you seen players line up in a position where it's just, well, he's our best player, he's got to stay on the field? They have so many different sub packages, so many different packages that you look at with this defense and go, wow, they've really got an answer and a counter for everything. And, you know, you mentioned at the top, you were talking about Arvell Reese. I mean, I don't know how a running quarterback could scare you at this point when you have that guy. So, you know, there's just so much talent on this defense, and I think Matt Patricia is using it the right way with a myriad of different looks. And that has been maybe the most surprising thing, is just how many looks there have been.
Well, keeping on trend here and talking about all the different looks, that D-line was an area of, I don't necessarily want to say concern for Ohio State going into the season, but definitely uncertainty. So what have you thought about that unit's play and kind of how Patricia has utilized those different players along the D-line?
Yeah, I think they've been solid. I'm not going to say that, they've been the best group on the defense or they've been downright dominant or even really that they've been what last year was because, last year's defensive line, they just gave you such a high bar to clear, especially, even the 23 line where you have, all these guys as reserves and Mike Hall is in that unit. Now he's in the NFL. So I think they've been solid. I thought Caden Curry played very well against Ohio. I've liked what they've done with Bo Atkinson, where Atkinson can jump down into the interior in certain packages. I do think tests are coming. I think it's, foolish, especially to think throughout the course of a season that everybody's going to stay healthy and everybody's going to feel 100% great all the time and, everybody's going to be fine. And I think that's going to be where the challenge comes in, right? Okay, what happens if you lose an end? What happens if you lose a tackle? Even if it's just for a week or two, how does that change the math and that change what Patricia's done? But I think solid has been the answer so far, and we'll see what happens here because, again, Washington, they can throw the ball a little bit. So, I think their defensive line, they're going to have to get after it. And I think that is the one area that you can point to and say, okay, if Ohio State can do that, there's really, really not many weaknesses on this defense, if any.
You touched on Washington. That's obviously the next test, and we'll see what they look like in the Apple Cup tomorrow. But from what you have seen from them, what scares you the most if you are the Buckeyes watching that film?
Yeah, the movement of Damon Williams, I think, is interesting to me. Ohio State has played a few unique quarterbacks, right? Everybody had Arch Manning as this highly touted quarterback coming into the year, and he hasn't looked the part, right? I think that's totally fair to say that Arch Manning has not lived up to those expectations. Then you play, you play Grambling State, but then you have Ohio and Parker Navarro. And Navarro was, I think good in spots. I don't think his box score necessarily reflected that. But Damon Williams' ability to move, I think, is interesting to me. You go back to last year and you look at what he did against Oregon. He ran a ton. They had him kind of used in a lot of running situations. I think he had over 20 carries in that game. His completion percentage was solid. They're going to get the ball out in space, and they're going to let their guys try to make plays. And Damon Williams is the point guard of all that. So Ohio State's really going to have to be focused on him. And, I was definitely a little interested when Matt Patricia said the other day that, he kind of reminds him of a Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that was fun.
We're talking with Andrew Gillis of Cleveland.com. And, Andrew, I guess Pat just kind of asked you, are there any areas of concern in this upcoming Washington game? In a more general theme, has there been anything that, has alerted some red flags or anything like that for you about Ohio State in the first 3 weeks this season? Anything that you were generally concerned about, something to monitor maybe going forward?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's concerned. It's whatever the opposite of that quote is, where it's like, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. It's just, I'm basically curious. And I think the way that I'm curious would be the running game. I wonder if the fix is as simple as Bo Jackson is our starting running back now. I don't know if that's what's going to happen for Ohio State, where if you put Bo Jackson into that running back number one role, maybe he just gives you that explosiveness that you've been lacking. Maybe he gives you something to where, all right, well, CJ Donaldson's not really breaking tackles, and, James Peoples maybe isn't seeing it as well as he should. And Bo Jackson's in the run game, and now all of a sudden, they have a dynamic run game. I don't know if that's going to be a 1-for-1. Let's just, plug him in and everything's fine. But again, you look at what this offense is, and the way that you can just explode and really just come out with 14 points in a couple of minutes is really impressive to me. Like Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, those two guys, you just throw them the ball and you can see what happens. And, you add a running back like Bo Jackson into that mold, you might not even be running the ball very well. Like I've pointed that 23 Notre Dame game a lot. Ohio State did not run the ball well in South Bend. They really, really got locked up. That defensive line for Notre Dame played well. I don't think Ohio State's offensive line did. Trevion Henderson has a 61-yard touchdown, and that's one of the key points of the game. So, if this explosiveness can really mask a lot. So I'm not really worried about the running game. I am curious how they're going to improve it in the bye week and improve it into Big Ten play. But, man, there is not a lot of weaknesses on this team that you've seen through 3 weeks.
You brought up OU. You brought up Notre Dame. I don't know how many people listening know this, but you went to OU. You grew up a Notre Dame fan. Those are 2 of Ohio State's last 4 opponents. What's it been like covering these games where you have to watch the team you used to cheer for, maybe still do cheer for when you're not watching the Buckeyes, and the team who you went to college for lose to Ohio State?
Yeah, it's funny. So many people have asked me, what that is like, and I remember I used to cover the Washington Capitals when I was living in D.C. and I grew up a big Capitals fan, and I cheer for them now, and that I'm not covering them. But I remember so many people were just like, are you okay? Like, hey, what was this like? And you just kind of like think to yourself, like, man, I'm not really thinking about that during a game because, if I don't have this 600-word story filed at the gun, I'm going to get fired. And I grew up liking my teams, but I like having a job better. So everybody kind of asked me, what's it like? I think it was cool. Like, the national championship was cool for so many different reasons. It was cool just to kind of be on that stage and see both those, like, 2 historic teams too, right? Like Notre Dame and Ohio State. But the OU of it all was cool. I had a lot of friends come into town that I went to college with, and it's fun whenever you see, and I'm not trying to minimize Ohio here, but you see your little MAC school get to play on the big stage. And I remember they played Penn State a few years ago, and that was cool. So it's just been cool, and I think it's been one of those things that you're just kind of appreciative of.
Andrew, a true professional there. Thanks for being with us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that is Andrew Gillis of Cleveland.com. He covers the Ohio State Buckeyes. And, Pat, one thing he brought up there, Bo Jackson, and what he has been able to do. Does Ohio State have a new running back 1? We're going to discuss that next. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
The only workplace in America to participate in the Doorknob Fart Game. And we also play office basketball and sometimes do radio. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
All the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
The water's standing in the tub. My toilets will not flush. The smell's getting bad in here. I need help in a rush.
Clogged drain, no problem. It's 93 or free. I'll clear any drain or you don't pay with a 1-year guarantee.
It's 93 or free. Guaranteed.
Call 614-683-9911. Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
Buckeye fans, introducing Behind the O, the brand new app packed with original athlete and fan-driven Ohio State sports content. It's free to download in the App Store on iOS and Android, and every time you open it, you're helping generate NIL dollars for your favorite Buckeye athletes with zero cost to you. Get exclusive access to fresh behind-the-scenes videos, training routines, athlete lifestyles, and more from every Ohio State sport. Don't wait. Download Behind the O now and get closer to your Buckeyes than ever before.
Behind the O, free for fans, NIL for athletes.
Attention Columbus. Town Properties just clinched the title.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
The Donato's Pep Duo Pizza is back, and it brought a pal. The Donato's Pep Duo, loaded with crispy pepperoni and 3 kinds of cheese. Now get a large Pep Duo pizza for just $14.99. Also back, Donato's deliciously dippable pepperoni cheese bread. Now on the $5 Pizza Pals menu for a limited time. More toppings, more flavor, more fun. Donato's. Gotta love more.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
Sunday, a day of rest, relaxation, and Browns football. Catch the Brownies as they battle the Packers from the land.
Live fan coverage starts Sunday at 11 with the Kick at 1.
Your Central Ohio home of the Browns, The Fan.
It's been over 2 years since Bobby Carpenter had regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. He needed relief from knee pain, but he wanted to avoid surgery.
I thought I might have to have my knee scoped, had some injuries, some lingering pain from stuff that I had been dealing with from years of playing professional football, and things had kind of flared up again. I started talking to a friend of mine who's orthopedic, and he was like, well, try to avoid surgery if you can.
And you absolutely can avoid surgery. QC Kinetics provides patients with state-of-the-art regenerative treatments, orthobiologics from your own body that help heal and restore damaged, aching joints. And we'll let Bobby tell you about that.
It was all of a sudden that one day, a couple months later, I was here, let's go jog, let's try to see what I could do. And the more I did, I was pain-free with it, and it was actually a pretty remarkable process.
Before going under the knife, see if you're a candidate for non-surgical joint pain treatments at QC Kinetics. Call them today.
Call QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Ohio Heating and Bryant. Doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend this show. The other dentist is a Michigan fan. Yuck. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Happy to have you with us on a Thursday evening. Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy, Isaiah Jacob. We just got done chatting with Andrew Gillis of Cleveland.com, and he brought up something I really, really want to talk about with you, Pat, and that's a new Ohio State running back in Bo Jackson. Because, the first couple weeks of the season, now we're 3 weeks in, the guys that were kind of the presumed starters, I suppose, the dual-headed backfield in James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson haven't really been what I expected. Peoples in particular, I was very high on coming into the season, and I thought Andrew put it great that maybe he's not seeing it the best right now. I just don't think he's been that dynamic to start the season. Donaldson, I think, probably has been closer to what we expected, more of a bruising back, but is he breaking as many tackles as we thought he would? I don't know. He hasn't necessarily had as much success, and that is a little bit confusing, a little bit of an area of concern for Ohio State and their inability to maybe have the explosive run play early on in the season, which we saw more of with Travion Henderson last year. But one thing I will say is Ohio State now has a guy who's entered this conversation in Bo Jackson that maybe has some of that. And Joel Klatt actually talked about it in what this could mean for Ohio State going forward compared to really what they had last year.
Man, you can see it. This guy is dynamic, and now they've got 3 really good options at running back, and that's going to give them a lot of depth in order to stay fresh for potentially a long season. You give them a third healthy back, and watch out. They could run the football really effectively, and when that passing game has the ability to be dynamic also running the football, then watch out. That's in a lot of ways what turned them into the team that ultimately won the national championship.
So we've seen some limited action from Bo Jackson. 18 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown. 12.1 yards a carry, which is really, really good. But it's 18 carries, right, and it's not against Big Ten competition. Are you buying this right now? Where are you with Bo Jackson and really entering this? I don't necessarily want to call it a competition, but entering a backfield rotation right now.
I think you can't argue with what he's done because C.J. Donaldson, James Peoples, they've also played in those games, right? It's not like they sat out the Grambling State or the Ohio game. So there were opportunities there for them to do exactly what Bo Jackson did. with that said, and Ryan Day talked about it this week, like you can't argue the talent. You can see, I think he said you don't need to be a veteran coach to see the talent there. But there are other things besides carrying the ball to be a running back, and you need to be able to pass protect. You can't fumble. And in the Grambling game, after he had a big long run, I was right on the sideline there in the fourth quarter when he tries to dive for the pylon, goes out of bounds, fumbles the ball. I watched as he got an earful from Carlos Lachlan, and Ryan Day was right there too. That's going to be something that he has to prove, both of those things that he has to prove he can do, because everything else seems to be there. Now, you're right. It hasn't been against Washington or Penn State or Illinois or Michigan. But I think there is this decisiveness, this explosion that you haven't seen from the other guys. Really, I thought that would be what James Peoples is, and maybe he still will be. And that's why I think the Buckeyes aren't going to go away from those other two guys, because they've seen the talent. Now, has it translated into games yet? No. I think with James Peoples, we heard comparisons in the offseason from players at the NFL Combine talking about him in comparison to J.K. Dobbins, right? And like, that's a big comparison. That's a guy who rushed for 2,000 yards, the only guy in Ohio State history to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. So that was going to be big shoes to try and step into, but that is there in his arsenal to do some of those things, and we just haven't seen it yet. I think with C.J. Donaldson, the biggest thing is he's not breaking tackles like he did at West Virginia. He's broken one tackle, according to Pro Football Focus, in 3 games, and as a power back and a guy that's going to be in there in short yard situations and things like that, you've got to be able to fight through. Now, we saw it against Texas on that 4th down for the touchdown, but I think they, some of those red zone issues from the OU game, if he's a bit more like Quinshon Judkins a year ago, and maybe it's not fair to compare a guy who was, one of the best running backs in the SEC for 2 years and a guy who was sharing the workload at West Virginia, but they brought him in to kind of be that power back role, and we've seen it a little bit, but I think they need to be more efficient with it. Also, it's not all on the running backs, right? I mean,
that's where I wanted to go next. Like, what are you thinking with the offensive line? Because I feel like the pass blocking has been pretty solid for Ohio State to start this year, but are they getting that push right now in the run game? I haven't necessarily seen that.
Yeah, I think especially in those short yardage things, it could get better. And they have done it at times. Again, I go back to that 4th down. There was also a play, I think it was against OU. They all kind of blend together because I've watched back these clips of these red zone plays so many times. But CJ Donaldson does a nice job, like a little jump cut to get by Tegra Shabola's blocker. And then he has like 4 yards downfield. And I think he ended up with 3 as the guys kind of closed them. So there was an opportunity, if you can break a tackle or make a guy miss, you're in the end zone. So they have blocked it right at some points. I think that's probably been one of the things, not only making sure the running backs are seeing where to go, because I also think that's been an issue, is maybe it's blocked and they just don't hit that hole. A couple times I think they've gone up the middle where maybe something else is there. But I do think that you have the right pieces in place when we're talking the run game in general. I said going into the season, like, I don't think there's room to have 3 running backs that aren't like supremely different. One's not just a pass catcher, one's not just a bruiser, one's not sort of the in between. They all can kind of do some of that. And so I figured, okay, it'd look a lot like last year. Even if Bo Jackson is pretty good, like, these other 2 are going to get the bulk of the carries. I would like to amend that in that I think Bo Jackson is going to be involved the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Whether he's the first guy to get the carry against Washington or any other team, I don't know. But the fact that he was in on the 3rd series against OU is a pretty good indication. That game wasn't already out of hand. They weren't up 14-0 and starting to cruise, right? So I think that's a good indication that they do trust him in some of those things and are going to give him an opportunity.
Yeah, as far as it goes with the offensive line, I am a big believer that the offensive line gets better as the season goes on. You're more comfortable with each other. You're more comfortable with what you're trying to do offensively. It's just one of those confidence things, right? And we even saw it with Ohio State last year. Justin Zwick was on the show with me yesterday, and we talked about this a little bit, that even despite injury last year, it seemed that Ohio State's offensive line got better as the season went on. Maybe it was even better after some of those injuries, right? Like we're talking about, Josh Simmons not really playing last year, and he steps in and looks to be a pretty solid NFL player right away, and Ohio State's O-line was great without him. So that is something for me that I will be monitoring going forward. You know, I think that offensive line will continue to get better and better, and the running game should hypothetically improve with that. With that said, I think the explosiveness from Bo Jackson is undeniable, right? I'm kind of with you that I expected James Peoples to be playing that role for Ohio State, playing more of that Travion Henderson role coming in. And maybe that's just because we saw James Peoples do some of that last season, very similar to the way that Bo Jackson's doing it right now. But you look at the 2 games that Jackson has played in, 9 carries, 108, and a touchdown against Grambling, 9 carries, 109 against Ohio. And pretty much half of those yards have come on a play in each of those games. The explosive play, a 51-yard carry against Grambling and a 64-yard carry against Ohio. That's what you want, right? Like, you want somebody to be able to break the game open like that. And to this point, for Ohio State in the running game at least, again, they have so much talent at wide receiver and tight end, but in the running game, it's been Bo Jackson. So I'm with you that if you get into this Big Ten slate and you're not getting that from some of these other guys, whether it's a Donaldson or a Peoples, why not put Bo Jackson in there? And I'm with you. How early he played against OU is an indication that I think he's going to be a part of this going forward. And really, it's wait and see for Washington. And it's probably a benefit to him that this is a bye week, right? That, hey, maybe they're looking at some of this tape and they're saying, okay, we want more of this guy, and he's going to get more practice time, more reps, more opportunity to learn, and we'll see what it looks like against Washington.
Look, back-to-back 100-yard performances out of a freshman doesn't happen very often.
Right.
I don't care who the opponent is. And, you know, some of that is on big runs, but big runs count too, right? And you need that. You know, Andrew's talking about some of the explosiveness in the pass game, and Ohio State scoring 14 quick points with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And to Joel Klatt's point, like, if you can add that explosive run game in there, and not that the Buckeyes have run the ball poorly. You know, if you look actually comparison to last year, they're similar in terms of yards per carry and things like that, or yards per game, I should say. So, you know, I think you're kind of okay with it, but you know there's more there, right? Mm-hmm. And if it takes Bo Jackson to unlock that, great. And maybe Bo Jackson having the 2 games he's had makes James Peoples and CJ Donaldson kind of look at themselves and be like, if I don't get this, you know, get my stuff in gear, I may be, you know, seeing fewer carries going forward. So I think as long as they are comfortable with him in the game, I'm fine with playing him. And you know, the best guy's got to play. And coaches say that all the time, and they don't always do it. And it's happened here at Ohio State. Dallin Hayden a few years ago was in a really similar situation,
yes,
right?
I remember that.
And they didn't really want to play him. And, you know, maybe it was ball security. Maybe it was other side. There was never really a good explanation for why he couldn't get in there, even though he clearly looked like the best back. Well, they're playing Bo Jackson, it seems. So, again, we'll see what happens next week at Washington, but I feel comfortable that he will probably be in the game, and when the game is, you know, needing plays like he has made.
Isaiah, are you awake back there? It's been a while since we've heard from you.
I'm doing good back here.
All right,
holding in there.
Good. Well, I'm going to let you take over next. We've talked a lot about the Buckeyes, so we're going to go around the country with the college football pulse. Isaiah has that for us. Coming up, it's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
An encyclopedic knowledge of sports and other random things you may or may not care about.
I think I found my mentor.
Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan.
He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! This is what the Buckeyes train so hard for.
Just like Valvoline Instant Oil Change, their techs train like pros to deliver expert service every time.
Wait, are we talking about football or oil changes?
Both. Whether it's the Buckeyes on the field or your car in the bay, it's all about preparation and precision.
Can't argue with that.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Visit VIOC.com/Buckeyes today.
Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
My toilet's clogged, backed up too. The sink is running slow. Water's backed up everywhere. Oh, please don't overflow.
Clogged drain, no problem. It's 93 or free. I'll clear any drain or you don't pay with a 1-year guarantee.
It's 93 or free.
Guaranteed. Call 614-683-9911. Call all the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
Buckeye fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Buckeyes MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win tickets to Ohio State sporting events, access to exclusive MVP experiences, along with 10% off select gear at the Ohio State team shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Buckeyes MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Buckeyes to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive.
Experience Buckeye Game Day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Hey, Buckeye fans. As the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, Roosters is kicking off an incredible giveaway you won't want to miss. This football season, we're giving away 12 ultimate Buckeye experiences. 3 drawings, 12 winners with prizes including tickets, sideline passes, and 3 trips to a Buckeye first-round postseason game. Go to roosterswings.com to register and see all the details. 3 drawings, 12 amazing prizes. Register today and every day. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Cover more ground and get more savings on the fast, durable Kubota Sidekick. Gas-powered with a top speed of 40 miles per hour and outstanding acceleration and handling with cargo. All backed by a 2-year, 1,000-hour warranty. Visit your Kubota dealer and get the Kubota Sidekick for 0 down, 2.99% APR for up to 48 months and save up to $300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit BuckeyeKubotaDealers.com to find a dealer near you.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus, The Fan.
I'm Isaiah Jacob with your sports update. The Cleveland Guardians wrapped up their 3-game series with the Detroit Tigers today, sweeping the series. Cleveland came out on top today, 3-1. This now brings them within 3.5 games of the Tigers for the AL Central. Tonight, the Reds take on the Chicago Cubs at 7:15. On the mound tonight for the Reds is Hunter Green taking on Colin Araya of the Cubs. An AFC East clash will take place tonight on Thursday Night Football as the Miami Dolphins visit the 2-0 Buffalo Bills. Miami 0-2 looked listless in its season opener. And while it played better in a Week 2 loss to New England, the team is still 0-2 for the first time since 2019. After 18 years with the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw has decided he will retire at the end of this season. Kershaw has won an MVP and 3 NL Cy Young Awards in a career that will undoubtedly finish in the Hall of Fame. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
It's time for the College Football Pulse on the Buckeye Show.
Sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Well, before we get into the College Football Pulse, quite a day for retirements for Los Angeles sports legends. Isaiah just told us about Clayton Kershaw, and then it just broke that, I guess, Anjay Kopitar, the captain for the LA Kings, is going to retire after this season. So pretty crazy there. End of an era for a couple of those guys, but just found that interesting. Kershaw and Kopitar in the same exact day. You brought up Hunter Green there, too. I'm in my fantasy baseball championship game. I need Hunter Green to come up big for me tonight. I'm playing against a team that was undefeated in the regular season.
Uh-oh.
He is a wagon. So I'm up against it, but we'll see what happens. I need Hunter Green to help me out. Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy, Isaiah Jacob with you on the Buckeye Show. Isaiah, it's your time, buddy. Let's get the College Football Pulse up and firing.
Yeah, tonight we have some pretty big news in NCAA football right now, and that's going to be the official elimination of the spring transfer portal. And so we're going to get kind of nitty-gritty here, but there's going to be a single fall transfer portal window now. The details of the length of it or starting dates are still to be determined, but under the original proposal, the window to enter the transfer portal would take place between January 2nd and through the 11th, instead of a 20-day window in December and a 10-day window in April, which is the current model that has now been outlawed. If you're wondering, Ryan Day, not happy about this.
What do you think about it, Pat?
I think that the one-time window is okay. I don't like the timing of it.
Mm-hmm.
assuming it is where they're talking about now, like, I don't think it can be while teams are still playing.
Absolutely. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't. And look,
How is a coach supposed to get in the portal and recruit guys while he's coaching the football team?
Yeah, in the biggest games of the year because it's your college football playoff. I don't know where I'd put it exactly. Like, I think from an academic standpoint, having it where the spring portal was at the end, sort of the end of the school year, makes a lot of sense because you finish your spring semester or your third quarter, whatever schools are on. But I'm fine with it being a one-time thing, but I do think that it doesn't make sense to have it in January. Now, there was on these airwaves today, Ross Bjork was talking about how other conferences wanted it to be in January so that their roster's set for the spring. And I do get that to some degree, but I think it affects more negatively if you do it that way, unless you do it at the very end of January when all teams are done playing, the national championship's over. I guess I could see that argument. But even that, like, if you just played a national championship, there's still a lot going on. You're figuring out the team that won's still celebrating. Now you got to immediately turn around and start planning your roster for the next season. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a very quick turnaround if you're one of those teams at the very, very end. Not a perfect way to do it, but I guess they're trying to iron things out as best as they can. I'm with you. I hope it's at least at the end of January.
Right.
It would make things a little bit easier on people. What else you got, Isaiah?
South Carolina quarterback Lenore Sellers is listed as questionable on the SEC availability report for Saturday's game at number 23 Missouri. Sources told ESPN on Wednesday that Sellers has been in practice and there is optimism around his availability for Saturday. But this got me to a larger question, which is kind of around Lenore Sellers and Arch and Cade Klubnik and DJ Lagway. Up until this point this year, there was so much hype around this quarterback class. Now there would be so many prospects for the NFL, but I feel like we haven't had that payoff yet. Like Cade Klubnik, not been good. Sellers, not really been great. And I don't even want to talk about Arch.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. Like, I have been harping on it really from week one. I don't know if I was ever a huge believer in this quarterback class, and you didn't even bring up Drew Allard's name either. That's why I've been so high on Julian Sayin. Based off of what I've seen from Sayin, I'd put him right there with some of these other guys. Arch Manning obviously has not been great to start this season. Cade Klubnik, I think, has been a tremendous disappointment at Clemson. You didn't bring up Nussmeier at LSU. Nussmeier hasn't been bad for LSU, but has he been a true game changer for them yet? I don't think so. And this is maybe the guy that's going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft, and we're talking about him not being a game changer for his team early on in the season. And they've played some big games already. Right. Clemson, Florida, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of with you. And like Sellers is one that I think he could be good, but I think he's a little bit overrated. Lagway, obviously, we saw what he did last week, throwing a bunch of interceptions. Yeah, I think the high-profile QBs have been very disappointing to start this season. And, I think at this point in a typical year, you're talking about a guy starting to not necessarily run away with the Heisman, but somebody is starting to get a lot of Heisman hype through 3 or 4 weeks, through a month of the season. Have we really had that yet? No, I think Carson Beck right now is the guy with the best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. And there are a lot of guys right around there, plus 1,000, plus 1,500, plus 2,000. And, Julian Sayin has walked himself into that conversation.
Yeah, and look, I think you mentioned Carson Beck. Like, that's a guy who 2 years ago people were very high on. Obviously did not have as good of a season last year. And I didn't really know coming into this season what he would look like, which version was the real version. At least so far for Miami, he's looked much more like the 2 years ago version at Georgia. And that could be a guy who starts to really get a lot of buzz, especially if Miami keeps winning. I think Sellers, Brandon Beam's been very outspoken about his love for South Carolina this year. That did not go well last weekend, but Sellers got hurt.
I like Shane Beamer, by the way, but he has OC energy to me. He doesn't have head coach energy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I agree with you, though. I think it is a little weird. But, look, I think it's going to take time. There were a lot of new, or first time, I should say, starting quarterbacks. And then the guys that were returning, weren't necessarily the biggest of names at the biggest of programs necessarily. So I think let's revisit these odds and talking about this like mid-season once these guys have really been tested. But you brought up Julian saying I think he's firmly in the mix, at least at this point, for one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
And hey, Jaden Maiyava, that guy's really put his name in the conversation too out at USC and gotten them into the top 25. So something to monitor there as well. This last thing you got, Isaiah, I'm fired up to talk about because I don't like this.
Kansas and Arizona State are in discussions right now about moving next season's matchup to London's Wembley Stadium. Does overseas games, do these work for college football? The NFL's, they've been doing it in different locations, but for college football, does this work?
I don't really think it makes sense for college football from a purely logical perspective. What's the point, right? These teams are getting paid to do it, and they're getting money to do it, and I think that makes sense for them, especially in the modern NIL day. But Arizona State and Kansas playing in London, really? I don't understand the draw there.
Yeah, that's the thing for me, and you said it right there. The draw, like, look at week 0, the game we had between Iowa State and Kansas State out there. I was surprised how well attended that was, but I just don't know if you do it every year and if there aren't big name teams involved. And I'm not advocating for sending, some of your best college football games over to England right now. I don't know why it's become such a big thing. The NFL, you mentioned, does it. And I'm okay with them doing it, but I don't love it. Like, especially being here, waking up, I'm like, oh, shoot, there's an NFL game. It just throws my whole day off, and especially with playing fantasy football and having to basically remember the night before. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. I don't hate it for the NFL, but I don't like the idea for college football. Michigan may open the season, it sounds like, in Germany.
So Michigan and Western Michigan and Germany.
Yeah. Like the Michigan brand will certainly draw people. There'll be people that live over there that went to Michigan or grew up Michigan fans. And it is a novel thing. It's like, in the preseason, European soccer teams come over here, but that's preseason games. Like, I would never want teams to play games that really mattered over here. So I don't know. I think if there's a draw, people are going to continue to do it, or teams are going to continue to do it, but I am not the biggest fan.
Here's the thing for me. I'm fine with the NFL doing it in the regular season because going to an NFL game and experiencing an NFL game is different than going to a college football
100%.
game. If they were ever to do the playoffs or the Super Bowl overseas, I would absolutely lose my mind. I would dislike that. College football is unique to the United States in just the experience going into the game. The way that you talked about soccer, going to a game, I've been to Chelsea and Liverpool game in the United States before, and it was nothing like going and seeing them play an actual Premier League game in England, right? There's something different about that. In college football, you get 7 home games a year, somewhere around there. That's not very many. And there are kids at the school that want to see their teams play. There are alums that want to see their teams play. There is something so unique about going to a college football atmosphere. And we're actually going to talk about that later in the show and some of our favorite road Big Ten destinations. And you're going to take that away? Like, you're going to take that away once per year from a couple of schools? I just don't like that. Like the tailgating, the pageantry, the history, the tradition, all of that goes into college football is so unique. And I think that, putting college football overseas takes that away a little bit.
And the games are important. Like for the NFL, you can drop a game or two.
That's a good point.
College football, if Ohio State played overseas and it was a big game, like you throw Ohio State and Penn State, which I could never see happening. But if Ohio State drops that game overseas when it's all wonky times, like that would upset me so much because the games actually matter. That's what makes it so great.
You're right about that. Yep. That's a good point. That is a good point.
And I mean, the college football playoff has helped it a little bit in the sense that you can lose a game or two, but it's still so different than the NFL or really any other sport in terms of how much each game matters. And I think that's a really good point as well.
Well, many games are going to matter to the Ohio State basketball team this season. And the good news for us is the Big Ten schedule for the basketball Buckeyes just came out this evening. We'll tell you which matchups we're fired up to see at the Shot. That's coming up next on the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
Tweet from a listener. Are you carrying the Buckeye game today? Considering we've never not carried one, yes. The answer is yes. The Fan.
Hey, it's Anthony. Tailgating, hiking stadium stairs, going out after the games. It's a great time of year. It's also the time of year I'm on my feet a lot. And there won't be a time when I don't have my personally fit arch supports from the Good Feet store in my shoes. They make all the difference for me. They help my feet, my hips, my back. They're not just like regular insoles. They're designed so I get firm yet flexible function. They actually correct poor foot biomechanics and give me even more comfort. The fitting process is simple. From the moment you walk in, the Good Feet store will personalize the process. From the pain that brought you to them in the first place to your lifestyle needs. They'll properly measure your feet and arch size. Then take the free test walk. If you love them, wear them home like I did. Your new arch supports will help you begin living the life you love without your feet getting in the way. Just stop by the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway or Stringtown Road in Grove City and learn more at goodfeet.com.
Come on over to Heartland. Join our family.
Now, getting ahead in this world is not as complicated as it might seem. Having the early guidance and counsel of your community banker, one who knows you and your family's story, can make a great deal of difference. Relationships matter. Bank on community banking. I'm Scott McComb, coming over to Heartland, where banking really feels good.
Where banking feels good.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium, presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
Hey, Ohio State fans. Next time that snack craving hits, Burger King has you covered with the O-Fry-O bundle. You get a medium fry, 8-piece chicken fries, 8-piece mozzarella fries, and an 8-piece chicken nuggets, all for just $10. It's perfect snack fuel for one, wherever and whenever you're cheering on the scarlet and gray. At BK, have it your way. You rule. Limited time only at participating Ohio area restaurants. BK is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Tax extra.
This is Paul Keels for RB Wholesalers. Peace of mind. That's what you get when purchasing your next RV from RB Wholesalers. With every new RV purchase, Ohio residents receive the exclusive Buckeye Service Guarantee. If your RV is in the shop, RB Wholesalers will give you a free loaner. Also with a Buckeye Service Guarantee, you'll receive free delivery in the state of Ohio and 3-day RV exchange. That's the exclusive Buckeye Service Guarantee. Only at RB Wholesalers in Lakeview, Mansfield, Delaware, and RBW.com. RV Wholesalers, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Football, football, football. Hockey. Could it be? Yes, it's Jackets time. Your Blue Jackets battle St. Louis in preseason action. Coverage starts Sunday at 4:45.
Sponsored by Atlas Butler Plumbing and Drain Cleaning Services.
The Fan.
Hey, Buckeyes, I'm John Chabot with Surest, a digital-first health plan designed to make healthcare simple and affordable right here in Ohio. At Surest, we believe healthy small businesses are vital to our economy. That's why we're ready to give your small business a VIP opportunity through our small business sweepstakes. Winners will be recognized on the sideline at an Ohio State home football game. To enter, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com/Surest. That's SUREST. Surest, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Experience Buckeye game day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Blue skies, low humidity, light wind, and a nice warm finish on this Thursday. Temperatures running in the mid to upper 80s. Overnight down to around 60 degrees, 50s in some of the outlying areas. And after a comfortable start, a hot finish, up around 90 by Friday afternoon. With your 10 weather impact forecast, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz on The Fan.
The only radio show that bleeds scarlet and gray. This is the Buckeye Show.
Happy to have you with us on this Thursday evening, second hour of the program, and it's time to talk some Buckeye basketball. That's because the Ohio State Big Ten schedule came out just a little while before we hopped on the show, and actually coming up around 7:30, Adam Jardy, who covers the team for the Columbus Dispatch, is going to be joining us. He'll talk about some of the stuff Ohio State's been doing on the recruiting trail and, of course, what he's looking forward to as far as this Big Ten schedule release goes. But I like what Ohio State had going with the non-conference this year. Like, they've got some big games on there, some good tests early on in the season. But you're always curious to see what it looks like when it comes to the Big Ten slate, right, Pat? And Ohio State will go on the road to open up at Northwestern on December 6th. And, Big Ten hoops is going to be good this season. Getting ready, for this segment, I was kind of looking at some of the way too early preseason top 25 rankings for college basketball this year. Depending on where you look, Purdue is a top 5 team, to some maybe the best team in the country. Michigan, pretty much a consensus top 10 team. UCLA in the top 20, Illinois in the top 20 as well, and then other teams that could be in there, Oregon, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and the Buckeyes themselves could all be top 25 teams coming into this season. So that tells you a lot of strength in the conference. Obviously, it always has been a good basketball conference, but it gets even better with the additions of some of those teams out west, the Oregons of the world, UCLA. I know USC basketball has been better these last few years, so I'm kind of excited to see some of those big matchups at the Shot this year, see how Ohio State stacks up, right? Yeah, definitely. I think the team in general, will be more exciting this year because I think the roster makes more sense for what Jake Diebler wants to do, and kind of had a year of going out and getting some former big time recruits, and this year it's let's look more for the right fit and things like that. But then you mentioned some of the opportunities to see Big Ten teams come into the Horseshoe, or excuse me, we're talking football, come into Value City Arena, the Shot. And yeah, look, probably none bigger than what may be the number 1 team in the country in Purdue later in the season, March 1st. You get Michigan home and away, which is something I know Jake Diebler has really pushed for. He would like Ohio State and Michigan to play twice every year, so both sets of fans get to see that rivalry, and you can kind of build that back up, especially if both teams are decent or better. And yeah, this will be the first time Ohio State's made the trip out to Washington and Oregon. They do those in back-to-back games. Since they've joined the conference, we got to see both those teams come to Columbus last year. So yeah, it's exciting. Look, I think when I realized that the schedule was coming out, I was like, I'm just so focused football-wise. It's oh yeah, basketball season starts in less than a month. But like I said, I think this team's going to be exciting. And, outside of the Big Ten, you've got some interesting matchups, playing Pitt on the road, West Virginia, North Carolina at a neutral site. So I think you've got some fun ones this year. You must not follow Jacob Reimer on Twitter, do you? No, I do. How did you not know Ohio State basketball was coming up? Oh, I know. You're following that guy. He tweets about college basketball every freaking day, man. Yes, but I try to just focus on football until I absolutely have to get into basketball. It's like we were having a conversation with the basketball SID at the football game last weekend about normally they do this big media day, and it's always not poorly timed. That's not the right term, but it's just usually right in the middle of football, and you're trying to do 12 football stories, and now there's an hour and a half with basketball, and I hadn't gotten my head around basketball. So we may do things a little differently this year, which I think might be helpful. But it's always a weird time when basketball starts. And even last year was so strange for me because the Buckeyes make that deep run in the college football playoff. I wasn't at a lot of the games that I normally would have been. Normally we miss 1 or 2 for football. But because the season went so much longer, I at one point when I saw Jake Diebler, I was like, sorry we haven't been around, man. And fortunately, he gets it. He grew up a Buckeye fan, so he understands where football is. But it's crazy when you're trying to cover both things. Once that starts, my life, outside of covering sports pretty much ends. All right, some of those other big matchups here in Columbus. Get your calendars out, get your phones ready, however you want to mark these down. But the Buckeyes will take on Illinois on December 9th. On January 17th, they'll welcome the UCLA Bruins. I'm doing top 25 matchups here, by the way, prospective top 25 matchups. February the 8th, that's the matchup against Michigan. And as you said, March 1st against potentially the top team in the country in Purdue. Something else that came out with this Big Ten schedule release is a change to the Big Ten basketball tournament. All 18 of the conference's teams will make the Big Ten basketball tournament this year. That adds a day to all the festivities in Chicago, which I've been to the Big Ten tournament before. It's a lot of fun. Yes. It's just so much basketball. Like, if you're a basketball fan, I would definitely recommend checking that out because it's just game after game, day after day, and it is a ton of fun. But both of you guys, what do we think about 18 teams being included in the Big Ten tournament? Do we like that? Does it kind of take something away from the regular season? What are we thinking here? Isaiah, what do you think about this?
See, I'm okay with it, but at the same time, I like when regular seasons matter. Mm-hmm. And in college basketball, with the amount of games they have, if you're on the outside of that Big Ten tournament as it is now, you probably had a horrible year. Like, you probably don't deserve to have a chance to be able to knock somebody out that might have had a decent year. And so for me, I'm not crazy about the 18 teams.
What do you think, Pat? I have something in mind. Like, what if you just had a horrible, horrible season, but you just go on a magical run and get yourself a bid into the NCAA tournament? So you win the Big Ten tournament and something happens.
Not that they had a horrible season, but remember UConn a handful of years ago? Goes on that magical run through the conference tournament and goes and wins the national championship. I mean, that's kind of what college basketball's been. I think if you're going to have a conference tournament and you're going to have an 18-team league, you need to have the 18 teams in. The way that tradition has been, like, everybody gets an opportunity to win their way in at the end of the season to the big dance. And if you want to argue that maybe that never should have been the case and you know, you should only have X amount of teams from each conference playing for that, I understand. But I think that college basketball is so much different than college football, right? It's much more like the rest of the American sports that you can play your way in easier than the limited amount of teams that get in football. So I'm okay with it. I also, at that point in the year, I just talked about how, like, it's so tough to be in a basketball mindset during football season. At that point of the year, I want as much college basketball as I can get. And going to cover the Big Ten tournament, like, just sitting there and watching some of the games either before or after Ohio State plays, it's always a lot of fun. So I'm in for more games. And look, even the worst Big Ten team, probably better than some of the teams that do get in. Mm-hmm. No, that's no disrespect to them. It's just how it is. And so I think if Penn State, who has not been good at basketball, Ohio State some of these years, right, is one of the lower teams, and you make that run, that's the way the sport works.
I'm kind of with you in that it's just more fun, right? Like, say a team is playing Cinderella or playing Cinderella just within the Big Ten tournament. It adds something to it, right? You're just going to have a couple more games early on in the tournament, and it adds more opportunity to create that upset or create that moment, create that buzzer beater of a team that really shouldn't have been there, maybe knocking off a team that was expected to go far in the Big Ten tournament. Right. I'm with you in that it makes it more fun. And honestly, you know, relating that to the college football playoff, I know some people have really complained about, you know, the potential of play-in games, automatic qualifiers, things like that. I'm always down for more football, more basketball. I just think it's fun. So I don't hate that. I don't hate that all 18 teams will now make the Big Ten tournament. We'll see what it looks like later on in March. We've got a long time until then, but as competitive as the Big Ten looks like it's going to be this year, that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, and I think that going to 18 teams is still something that I've been trying to wrap my head around. Like, we're talking about Washington.
It's a lot of teams.
Yes. We're talking about going out to Washington in just over a week. Like, it's still crazy to me to think of Washington and USC and Oregon, UCLA as Big Ten teams. I remember being at the Oregon game last year and, like, seeing the Big Ten logo on the field. It was like, just felt odd. But again, if you're going to do it, and they are in the Big Ten now, I think they should have a shot. And, you know, hopefully it improves your conference, right? It's more competitive, more games, all stuff like that. You know, and think about it for these kids. Like, everyone wants that opportunity to hit that buzzer beater, right? And maybe you don't make it to the NCAA tournament, but if you are one of those bottom teams and you don't even get an opportunity to go and play this one and done style thing that everyone kind of dreams about when you play college basketball, I don't think that's entirely fair. I know you didn't have a great season. You're not one of the top whatever teams, but I think it's about the opportunity.
More Buckeye Hoops talk is coming up. We've got an expert joining us, Adam Jardy of the Columbus Dispatch. He covers those basketball Buckeyes very, very well, and we'll talk to him after a quick break. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
At Baths R Us, we believe home improvement is life improvement, and that starts with a team who brings your vision to life. Our installers aren't just skilled, they're experts.
This is who we are. This is what we do all day, every day.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel. Plus, low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsrus.com, 380-225-2284. Baths R Us, where dreams soak in.
At Kroger Pharmacy, we make it easy to get flu, COVID, and RSV vaccines. They're available at no cost to you with most insurance plans. No appointment needed. And we're open weekdays, weeknights, and weekends. So come and visit us when it's most convenient for you. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Vaccines subject to availability. No cost to you with most insurance plans. Check with your plan for eligibility. Restrictions and exclusions may apply. See site for details.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance is prepared for what's next and protects what matters most to you. With independent insurance agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova Insurance is an easy win for your peace of mind. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you.
When it comes to trucks, Toyota gives you the power of choice. Now through September 30th, get 1.75 APR financing or $3,000 customer cash on a powerful new 25 Tundra. Excludes TRD Pro. Or you can lease a 25 Tundra SR Crewmax for $409 a month for 36 months with $39.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS. Tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
The Buckeye Show is sponsored by CareSource, proud to be your home for Ohio State athletics. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
We're very close to Buckeye football. Very close. Uncomfortably close. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Happy to have you back with us, Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy. And we are talking Buckeye basketball. Big Ten basketball schedule came out earlier today. We just highlighted some of the big games here in Columbus. You know, that game against Purdue on March 1st has me excited. But you don't really have to take our word for Buckeye basketball here because we're bringing in an expert, Adam Jardy. He covers the basketball Bucks for the Columbus Dispatch. Adam, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you guys tonight?
We are excellent. And Pat told me to tell you right off the bat, I saw Oasis. I went out to L.A. a couple weeks ago, and I saw Oasis perform at the Rose Bowl, and it was absolutely unbelievable. I follow you on Twitter, so I know you're a big fan.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm glad you got to have that experience in your life. It's a summer we're always going to remember. I'm proud of you.
It was certainly awesome. Well, with the Big Ten basketball schedule coming out this evening, what are your general thoughts on the Buckeyes as, you know, we're just about a month away from things getting started?
Well, I think it's a much more desirable schedule for the fans. And I think that you look at last year, like I will always come back to the fact that like senior night was a Tuesday night, 9 o'clock tip against Nebraska. You know, they had a late night weekday game against Washington. And Jake Diebler was very adamant that like they need more home weekend games. And every coach covets that. That's where you're going to get your best crowd. You're going to have your best environment. And Ohio State's got 4 of them this year, 3 of them in the last 2 months of the season, 2 of them at the very end of the season. I mean, getting weekend home games with Michigan and Indiana and I believe Purdue and UCLA, like those are all huge opportunities for Ohio State. And I think you look at last year and how many times they played on the road on a weekend and how many times they were facing like someone else's best in front of their biggest crowd. it evens out this year, and I think that's good for Ohio State, and I think that's really good for the fans who want to have games that are they're able to get to. So I'm happy for the fans in that regard for sure.
Adam, first of all, how'd the baseball game go?
Well, I appreciate you asking, and I have to give a huge shout out to our Bull Sharks. We just scored 7 runs in the bottom of the inning, and then got the final out at home to clinch a 1-run victory in the WYBSL, and I'm really proud of my Bull Sharks, all 13 guys, and it's a huge night. We are fighting right there at the top of the standings. Unbelievable night of baseball. Huge team win. Proud of our Bull Sharks. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's Adam's son, Liam, named after one of the members of Oasis's baseball team. Adam told me when I asked if he'd be on, he's like, well, yeah, we just have to get done with this baseball game first. So I'm glad it worked out. Another thing Jake Diebler asked the Big Ten, talked about a lot last year, was playing Michigan twice, home and away. The Buckeyes got that with the first game in Ann Arbor and then coming back to Columbus. What do you think, if this can be a consistent thing, do you think that rivalry can, I don't know if it'll ever get to football levels, but sort of reignite?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you just have to look at even like the last couple of years where one or both of the programs maybe hasn't been to the standard that people would like. Those games are still highly anticipated, sold out, like pretty exciting affairs. And I think it does the league a service by having those teams play each other twice, as opposed to no offense to, we'll just say Washington. Like Ohio State doesn't need like a home and home with Washington. Like it's not going to put butts in seats. And I think if you're trying to have the best environments that you can, have the most competitive games that you can, you put scarlet and gray and maize and blue on the court or on the pitch or on the field or on the whatever, like it's going to matter more. And I think the fact that we do get those games twice, and hopefully that's an annual thing going forward, like that just makes everything better, I think. And I think it's a credit to the Big Ten that they were able to suss that out and to say, okay, this is something that needs to happen.
So I'm going up and down, kind of just looking at the Ohio State schedule this year, and I've looked at a preliminary top 25, the way too early top 25s, and man, oh man, the Big Ten looks like it's going to be a gauntlet this season. And I know Ohio State is maybe in that conversation to be a top 25 team as well. So as things stand right now, before we've seen the Buckeyes play a game, how do you feel that Ohio State stacks up?
I think they're in that mix. Like whatever, I think you probably have like Purdue and Michigan and maybe UCLA pretty clearly, I think, at the top of the league. And I think after that, it gets pretty compelling. And I think Ohio State has every opportunity to be one of those teams that's right in there. And I think if you would probably look at most like top 40 rankings and things like that, you're probably going to see a lot of Big Ten teams between like 20 and 35. Ohio State's right in that mix. I will say, we know that this is a team that is going to have really solid guard play. You know what you're going to get from Ohio State's backcourt. That takes you really far in college basketball. I've been really impressed. I was at practice this week, and when I watch Christoph Tilley and Brandon Knoll and Amari Bynum and even Ivan Njegovan, like they have some size. Like I'm more impressed with the front court than I thought I would be. It's got to all work against a Big Ten opponent, and we'll see how it holds up over the grind of a season. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there's a lot of talent on this team, and I think they have a chip on their shoulder that last year coming up as short or as close as they did to making the tournament, I think that matters to this program. I think there's a real fire there to get back. And so it's kind of my long-winded way of saying I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be in the mix. And I think an upper Big Ten finish is not at all something that is unattainable for this team.
You mentioned that fire. I don't know if there's a guy who has more of that, given he's going into his senior year, than Bruce Thornton. What do you think it would mean for him? For all these guys to get back to the tournament, but for him to finally get there and play in that, I know he's talked about wanting to do it, but as a senior, especially finishing his career, sticking with the Buckeyes, what would that mean for him?
I think it'll mean everything, because there's a real chance, like we're talking here in March, and Bruce Thornton is Ohio State's all-time leader in points, and he's up there in assists, and he's up there in starts, he's up there in minutes. Like his name is going to be all over that Ohio State record book. But the only thing that is going to be lacking is the context of, did you make the tournament? Did you get this team into March? And he doesn't have that right now. It's unfortunate for Bruce, because I don't really put it on his shoulders. It's not just his fault, but for all the things he's accomplished and all the numbers he's put up, he hasn't been on a team that's made it into the postseason. And that is going to be the thing that needs to be there for him to truly have that legacy, because he's statistically going to go down as one of the all-time greats. Now he just needs to find a way into the tournament. And I think he's kind of given different answers on that. Like, is that the only thing he's focused on, or is that he's kind of gone back and forth on it? But, like, I mean, Pat, you know this from talking to him too. Like, he's a competitor and he wants to win. He's going to give it what he's got every single day. And I think deep down, he would probably tell you that getting to the tournament is probably consuming every thought when he thinks about this season.
Bruce Thornton nearing the end of his Buckeye career, so let's go to the other end of the spectrum here and talk a little bit about recruiting. What's Jake Diebler been up to on the recruiting trail?
Well, they've been busy. They've had a number of recruits through the last couple of weekends. They'd like to use the home football games as recruiting opportunities, and they've had some really high-profile kids come through town. They've been out on the road during the week visiting with guys and going to open gyms. It's a very odd period right now for high school recruiting. You look at the 2026 class, and I believe there's only 5 kids in the top 40 who have committed. One of them being Marcus Johnson from Garfield Heights, committed to Ohio State. But nobody really knows right now, like, what you can and can't promise a recruit, and nobody has a good idea, like, what these guys will be able to legally make in NIL next year. And so it's very unusual to see this many uncommitted, highly rated players already this late into their senior year. So I say all that to say, like, Ohio State's in a good spot with a lot of these kids that have come through. And I think they probably lead for quite a few highly rated recruits that have visited. But until anyone can figure out and iron out the NIL component, it's all kind of a guesswork right now. But I know that from a relationship standpoint and all the things aside from NIL, they're in a really good spot with a number of kids. They just haven't been able to get commitments yet because they don't know what they're going to be able to offer them next year.
You talked about the sort of changing landscape. We've talked a lot on the show, sort of how football's handling it. What are Jake Diebler and his staff doing in the immediate as you're trying to figure out how are they handling sort of this uncertainty when it comes to NIL and this revenue sharing and all that, as far as you know?
I mean, I think you try to run the race as long as you can with guys, and you keep those relationships tight, and you keep building, and you keep showing people that, like, you value them and how committed you are to them. And if you do that enough with enough guys, you know, hopefully eventually you get some clarity and you understand, like, what you can and can't promise and what these guys will be able to legally make next year or 2 years or 3 years from now. And I think it puts you in a good spot. And I think not only for, like, this first time around, but you know, as we saw last year, you know, Ohio State got Sean Stewart because it had recruited the heck out of him out of high school and lost him to Duke. And then when he transferred, like, you put in that work, and it helps you in the transfer portal as well. So I think they're kind of casting a wide net right now. You looking ahead because they don't have anybody beyond 2026, but they're running the race with a number of guys right now, and they feel good about where they are. Kids are not committing yet for all the reasons we just discussed.
Well, Adam, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you joining us. Go celebrate that win now, okay?
Hey, I'm proud of all 13 Bull Sharks that were there. Big win tonight. Appreciate all of them, and thank you guys for letting me shout them out.
Of course. Congrats to the Bull Sharks. That is Adam Jardy. He covers Ohio State basketball for the Columbus Dispatch. He was just joining us, and a lot of good stuff right there, Pat, about these basketball Bucks. And you know, you talked about it, that man, oh man, Ohio State basketball season's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And, you know, Adam got me a little bit fired up about it. He's optimistic about the Buckeyes, so I like that. It is football season right now. Ohio State on bye this week. They'll be going to Washington in a couple of weeks, week after this one. So that got me thinking, where do we like to go on the road in the Big Ten Conference? We're going to have a little top 5 list. We're going to compare where we like to go. That's coming up on the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
We have so many local shows, I can't fit them in a 10-second promo. So let's just say we're live and local all damn day. The Fan.
Everyone has that one goal, that thing they want to prove. Not to other people, but to themselves. Then, right when you think you could actually do it, cancer. And that goal is still within reach. Oh no, I'm about to run my first ever marathon with my two best friends. 3 years after having cancer.
At least we look good in these shorts.
Woo! Let's get it, guys. You, keep making plans.
Visit ohiohealth.com/keep making plans to learn more.
Hey, it's Timmy Hall. Looky here, guys. The Grove City Smoking Hot Wing and Music Fest is back for year 3, Saturday, October 4th at American Nitro. I'm excited. We're talking cold beer, killer wings, live music all day, football on the big screen. It all supports Ghosts of War, helping veterans in need. So veterans and military, you're in free, baby. Get your tickets at americannitro.com/wingfest. Brought to you by The Fan, Columbus Chamber, Martin Painting, T-Mobile, and Greenscapes. Wingfest, flavor, fun, and football. What more do you need?
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium, presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned Redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
The best outcomes for treating cancer come from early detection and early diagnosis.
The James Cancer Diagnostic Center at Ohio State
is designed to provide rapid evaluation and a clear diagnosis.
We are transforming care by giving patients direct access.
The cancer experts who study and treat cancer every day.
If you think you have cancer, the choice is clear.
Choose the James Cancer Diagnostic Center.
Already prepping for next week's matchup? Get your best rest yet with Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop Bob's and choose from pillows, soft, plush, dual feel, and extra firm mattresses with Bobopedic memory foam that will have you dreaming of game day in no time. So shop in-store or online to score the latest and affordable luxury mattresses without the luxury price tag. Bob's Discount Furniture, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
T-Bone and Tyvis.
The Browns haven't had a Super Bowl window since
Bernie Kosar?
I was going to say the 80s, the 90s.
Talked to Bernie yesterday.
A long time. Hope you didn't talk about any bets.
T-Bone and Tyvis Mornings on the Fan is sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Hey, it's Anthony. Tailgating, hiking stadium stairs, going out after the games. It's a great time of year. It's also the time of year I'm on my feet a lot. And there won't be a time when I don't have my personally fit arch supports from the Good Feet store in my shoes. They make all the difference for me. They help my feet, my hips, my back. They're not just like regular insoles. They're designed so I get firm yet flexible function. They actually correct poor foot biomechanics and give me even more comfort. The fitting process is simple. From the moment you walk in, the Good Feet store will personalize the process. From the pain that brought you to them in the first place to your lifestyle needs. They'll properly measure your feet and arch size. Then take the free test walk. If you love them, wear them home like I did. Your new arch supports will help you begin living the life you love without your feet getting in the way. Just stop by the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway or Stringtown Road in Grove City and learn more at goodfeet.com.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Social media can be a cesspool. Allow us to navigate the waters. #Buckeyes.
Sponsored by The Waterworks. Call the plumbing, heating, and cooling technicians at The Waterworks and header today. Call 614-232-2222. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Finishing things up here on the Buckeye Show. Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy, Isaiah Jacob. Shout out to Nate in the chat. Nate said that I wasn't monitoring the chat. typical of a fill-in host. I'm always monitoring the chat, Nate. Don't you worry. I like the chat. I like interacting with the chat.
No, I think it's great. I remember when, this is obviously before I was coming on here regularly, but when they first started doing the YouTube thing, if you don't have a radio in your house and you're not using the app, like, just hop on YouTube and
it's easy.
Throw it on the background or whatever. I've done that a few times. And then, there's people in there to interact with and whatnot. I think it's awesome.
I agree with you on that. Well, we've got hashtag Buckeyes going on, and I wanted to take hashtag Buckeyes in a little bit different of a direction because, you and I have both been on the road before. We've both followed the Buckeyes around, and that's what I want to talk about. Some of our favorite places to go on the road. You're set to go to Washington for the first time next week, and I'd imagine that's a pretty sweet destination to go to. So we've got some top fives going on right here. So why don't we kick it off? Why don't you tell me your top 5 favorite places to go in the Big Ten?
Yeah. So not necessarily. Well, I'll sort of have an order from here. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down, opposite of the way we usually do lists, just because I think it's easier. My favorite place to go is Madison and Camp Randall, which Buckeyes will be there later this year. That has a lot to do with the stadium, the atmosphere. If you've ever been there, I'm sure people have heard about Jump Around. It is every time I'm there, and I went there as a student, as a fan. I've been there as a media. Every time I make sure to take that in because it's awesome. And then just like their campus, their tailgating scene on game day, like if you've not been to Camp Randall and you have an opportunity to go in about a month when the Buckeyes play out there, I 10 out of 10 recommend. Penn State's number 2 for me. That I've only ever been to as a media member, so I don't know a ton about, kind of the pregame festivities. I've never even really set foot on their campus, but that game day atmosphere is as good as you're going to find anywhere in the country. I don't care if it's SEC. I don't care. It's one of the best, and even for noon games, they do it right. Beyond that, I am going to go with Oregon, even though I was only there once last year. But I was able to hang out with some friends before the game, walking around to some of the tailgates. People were great. The stadium, despite not being one of the biggest stadiums in the country, was every bit as loud as the loudest stadiums in the country. It was really impressive the way it's built. Plus, you've got the track and field stuff there. You've got Nike close by. Just a cool trip in general. But yeah, that stadium. We walked in, and as it filled in, I remember just standing on the field by the tunnel, and Carlos Lachlan, who'd obviously been the running backs coach there, just looks at the group of us staying there, and he's like, you guys just wait till this place fills up. And he was not wrong. After that, Iowa is a fun one.
You're in my list are too similar.
Oh, well, maybe that's a good thing, right?
It is.
I have only covered games at Iowa, but I did go to Iowa. I dated a girl from there in college, so we went back and hung out on that campus. Campus is fun. The stadium, again, another great atmosphere. What is that, 4 there? And then my 5th would be, we talked about this earlier, like I'm interested to see what the Rose Bowl is like. Mm-hmm. I love the Rose Bowl as a stadium, so I just want to mention that, like going out for the Rose Bowl game. Michigan State can be a good one given the right situation. I really struggled on what my 5th was because I think there's a lot of like solid stadiums around the Big Ten. I'll go with Michigan State, though. I've had some good times up there. I had some friends that went to college there, so we had a good time when we would go up there for games.
All right, my list is a mix of a few places I've been to and some that I want to go to based off of what they've got. So starting off at 5 for me is Iowa. I've been to Iowa a few different times. My dad is an alum of Iowa, so I actually grew up rooting for the Hawkeyes. And, I think the Kinnick Stadium experience is fun. The Hawkeyes come out in the swarm and they do the hospital wave and everything, which is really special. I feel like Iowa City is a little bit underrated of a spot as well. Like it's a really fun college town, I think.
Yes.
Good going out, seeing some of those real old, cool college bars there. And it's kind of like a nice little place too. Like it's not dirty. It's a good little spot. So I really enjoy Iowa City and I would definitely go back. Number 4, I've got Wisconsin. That's a place that I haven't yet had the opportunity to go to, but really want to because of all the reasons that you just talked about. Jump around, witnessing that, experiencing that, feeling that is probably right at the top of the list. But, you know, that scene, the pregame, the tailgates, I want to be a part of that. It sounds like a lot of fun. And also another Madison looks like a cool little city as well. Number 3 for me, and maybe this is a bad take, I don't know, is Northwestern. You've got Chicago. It's a Chicago trip, right? And you've got college football. Their new stadium is going to be awesome. What they've got cooking right now is a little bit strange, but you've got pretty much Lake Michigan views, right? Which is pretty cool. And, you know, not for nothing, played at Wrigley Field, which is pretty cool as well. So Northwestern's on that list just because, you know, Chicago ain't half bad. Number 2, I have Oregon. That's one that I want to go to. I want to make that trip again to see what that atmosphere is like. Also, you've got the opportunity to do Bandon Dunes out there. I'm a big golfer, so I feel like mixing that Bandon trip with going to see the Buckeyes play against the Ducks would be really, really cool. And number 1, the best college football atmosphere I've ever been to in my life, Penn State whiteout. That tailgating scene before kickoff is absolutely unbelievable. I've told people before, it's like when you watch a Civil War movie and you see all the tents just for miles and miles. That's what the whiteout tailgate is like. They're like around that stadium. The stadium's a little bit separate from campus. Like the campus is cool. I think it's kind of similar to Ohio State's, but the stadium is just a little bit away from it. And they're kind of just like open fields around the stadium and hills and stuff like that. And everywhere is packed with parked cars, people tailgating outside. It is absolutely unbelievable. So I think that's number 1 on my list. I would definitely love to go back to a whiteout.
I'm really interested to see what Northwestern looks like once the new Ryan Field's open. It was cool to cover a game at Wrigley, but I was watching the Oregon game at their Lakeside Stadium. That it's very small, so I'm not sure how that would work.
It's very weird looking,
but it would have been cool to see that. I am really excited about what they're building. I think that'll be a lot of fun. It looks like an awesome stadium. If you were going to go to one game outside of the Big Ten, one stadium, what would it be?
Yeah, so I've got this one on lock, and I was going to ask you the same thing. And actually, it's a reality now that the opening round of the college football playoff is a campus site. I think a night game in Baton Rouge between Ohio State and LSU would be absolutely unbelievable. That is right at the top of my list. Shout out my boy Donnie. He's got the connects down there in Baton Rouge. We're going to try and make it happen for the first game of the year next season. Should be another night game between LSU and Clemson. I'm going to try to get down to Baton Rouge for that one. I think it would be a ton of fun.
The real Death Valley?
Yes. Yes. Certifiably the real Death Valley. Yes.
Yeah, that's my answer too. When I've talked to people that have been to both Penn State whiteout night game, LSU night game, they've said like they're very similar. It's really a matter of preference in terms of what you want. So I'd love to be able to experience that one as well.
Isaiah, any spot that you want to hit very quickly here?
I was just going to give you my number 1, which neither of you guys had as your number 1, which was Oregon Stadium. I was out there for that OSU-Oregon game last year, too, and it was the only thing that I took away from the game was I understand why false starts happen now. Like, you watch on TV and you're like, how can we possibly jump? Like, it doesn't make any sense. We know the count. But I was in that stadium for the entire game, I cannot explain to you how loud it was.
Notice something. Nobody had Michigan. Nobody had the Big House on their list.
Yeah,
overrated.
I like the campus a little bit. It's a good time there, but the stadium, not so much.
All right, guys, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for doing it with me. All 3 of us are going to be back together tomorrow, right? We've got a real quick show, 6 to 6:30, going into high school football coverage. And speaking of football coverage, coming up next, Thursday night football, it's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Dolphins. Will the Dolphins find themselves a victory? I'm not quite sure. Thanks for being with us, guys. Dylan Tyrer, Pat Murphy, Isaiah Jacob, the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
No hot takes, no dancing, plenty of stupid. Bishop and Friends.
Weekdays from 9 to noon.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Common Man here for Jermaine Lexus. It's fall or autumn, as the losers like to say. What does that mean in the car world? That means places like Jermaine Lexus want to clear out all of their 2025 inventory to make room for the 2026 models. And for you, the customer, that means big savings. Take advantage of their lack of space with aggressive pricing. They also have plenty of L-certified vehicles on the lot for the fall collection sales event. If you're in the market, please stop in and see my friends. Jermaine Lexus, 2 locations to serve you, Dublin and Easton, JermaineLexus.com.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix that's guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
You can save big on 6-packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up. Select varieties or buy 2, get 2 free with your card. Limit 8. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
It's game day at Raising Cane's. If you want to order like a Buckeye, it's the action off the field you need to focus on. The only play you're running is chicken. So what combo are you picking? Make it a perfect season. We've got tailgates of hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce. And jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. All available to order online or on our app. This season is about to be unbeatable. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Experience Buckeye Game Day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
They're trained. They're prepared.
Let's do it.
They're Ohio's undefeated plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling team. And they're here to tackle your problems. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
It's over. It's over. Dolphins have dropped to 0-2.
And the Buffalo Bills.
Shotgun snap. Allen back. Allen looking, bouncing, looking at the 20-yard line, being chased, rolling right. He's one for the end zone. It is caught. A diving catch. Coleman caught it in the end zone. Touchdown Bills.
The mindset that we have is, never get too high, never get too low. Try to find the middle and understand that, it's never as bad as you think, but it's never as good as you think. There's always things to improve on, and each and every week, that's all we're trying to do throughout practice.
Kickoff is less than 15 minutes away. Let's head to that stadium and join Jason Horowitz and Ross Tucker.
Thank you and welcome to Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York for a Week 3 AFC East showdown between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Hey, folks, how are you? Jason Horowitz, joined by former NFL offensive lineman Ross Tucker, who's been a couple of years here, about 20 years ago, and welcome here to Orchard Park. Scott Graham will join us from our Westwood One studios coming up at halftime. Ross, we've got a pair of teams here that certainly over the last